Good morning. Hello. I've got my cup of happy, although I feel really weird. I'm going to be honest. I feel really kind of weird. I am grateful, very grateful that I do not have COVID. I've now tested a total of 3 times in the past 4 days, 2 at-home negatives and 1 PCR negative on Monday. And that's great, right? I'm confused. I don't know. Yeah. Let me collect myself for a minute and then I'll come back and chat with you. So keeping with the theme of the last week or so and just kind of opening up again more and wanting to do that, and also just still not sure always what is a good idea to share and what not. I wanted to be really open with you about the COVID thing because there's just so many people going through it. So many people in my DMs are telling me too that they're going through it, and I feel like it's really important for us to share, not to be alone. So many people are not sharing it, and I understand that that's totally your prerogative, but it makes me feel even more compelled to share so we don't have to feel so alone about this thing. But yeah, I've been seeing, how do I say this nicely? Messages, I guess, about just mistaken timeline about the thing. Okay, so it's no mystery. It should not be a mystery to you. This is not a secret or anything that I travel when I don't have my kids because A, I can, and B, and probably most importantly, I don't do well at home without them for extended periods of time. I wallow. I get really sad and unproductive, and it's no bueno. And I'm 2 years into this co-parenting thing, and it's the same. It hasn't changed for me in that way. So I choose to travel, and I'm sure people have lots of thoughts about that, and that's great. But that's what I do. And I could sit here and tell you all the things that I wish were instead of what are, but that's not my life, so I do what I do. We can go into that more at another time. I don't know. I feel like I've said it so many times, but people are going to believe what they believe about me, regardless of my actual truth. And I know that very well for being on YouTube for closing in on 12 years. So yeah, we'll leave that where it is. So kids were, okay, here's the timeline of the illness trajectory in our family. The kids went back to school after winter break on Monday. Was that like January 3rd or something? Everybody was healthy. They had been with me for over a week at that point. We just laid low. We just hung out. It was lovely. We had a great time together, and we didn't travel or do anything with school in mind. So they went back to school healthy. Their school does test to stay. They tested on Monday. They tested negative. We get the school test results usually the next day. And they did have some positive cases in the school, well more than they had been having up to that point, because it was the surge of Omicron. Are we still in it? I don't even know if we're still in the surge technically, but it was like the peak of the surge was that week after winter break, I feel like. And so they did test to stay. So they test the kids like every other day at school that are staying at school who are not ill. So the kids tested again on Wednesday, and they tested negative. So on Wednesday, I take my kids to school and I drop them off, and then I go to the airport and I get on a plane because I had a trip I had honestly was not sure I was going to go on. Something I had planned for in August, but then I didn't actually book my plane ticket until 10 days before because I was just so uncertain. But I decided to go because it was an outdoor racing event. And I know I'll get questions. I've already gotten so many questions. Apparently Disney makes that information public the week of the race. People can find you. So yes, I did run the Dopey Challenge. I ran my first full marathon the day after I ran a half marathon, the day after I ran a 10K, the day after I ran a 5K. I ran 48.6 miles in 4 days. It was epic. I'll talk more about it at another point. The reason I decided to go was because I knew it was going to be outside. I was no plans to go to Disney World to play. I was there to race. I didn't see anybody. One of the benefits of being an absolute loner is that I don't really have any friends. So I didn't see anybody. And I basically just stayed at my hotel and ran in the race and got food. And that's all I did on my trip there. So back to the illness timeline. Donnie was healthy when I dropped him off at school on Wednesday. Both kids were. Thursday night, I get a text from their dad that Donnie is not feeling well, and he's decided to keep the kids home from school on Friday to err on the side of caution. That's what we do, that we have done anytime they've had any little sniffle or anything through this whole pandemic, is we just keep them from school until we have a negative test. So they had an at-home test, and he gave him the test, and it came back negative. So Donnie actually tested negative 3 times that week. And I just thought, there's so many other illnesses going around. I thought, well, it's possibly his COVID, but it's also possible he has one of the other 5,000 things circulating right now. And because of the 3 negative tests, I was, I don't know. I thought it wasn't as likely that he had COVID. Maybe that was naive. Probably. Just 3 negative tests. And the school tests have been pretty accurate. And it's also possible they were accurate. And he had a very fast pickup time with it. I don't know. But that's how it started. Meanwhile, Cece is still fine. Donnie gets a fever. It's like a 101 kind of situation. It's not like the highest fever. It's not the lowest fever. And he's just really, really tired Friday. Overnight, he develops the croup, the barky cough. So Don takes him to the doctor Saturday morning, where they give him the steroid for the croup, which I talked about last week. And then they also tested him for COVID at the doctor's office. Okay. Then the croup clears up right away. His fever clears that day. He doesn't regain a fever ever. He's been fever-free since the Saturday last. So it was like 10 days ago, 11. Fast forward to Sunday, Cece wakes up not feeling well, has another kind of 101 kind of fever, and looks like she is getting whatever Donnie's getting, and she develops the croup overnight. So up until Sunday, when I heard from their dad kind of actually after the marathon was over, the last part of the race, I didn't even know she was ill at that point. Donnie's illness had progressed at the rate of other illnesses we've had in the family pre-pandemic. I'm not trying to justify that I didn't think it was like croup. It could have been COVID. It just could have been something else. And with all the negative tests, I don't know. I just, again, wishful thinking, naive thinking. I'm not sure. I just thought it wouldn't be that. I didn't even think that it wouldn't be that. I just thought it could be something else. So I get on an airplane first thing very early Monday morning to come home, my regularly scheduled time to come home. And on the when I'm sitting on the airplane, I get Donnie's test results back as we're about to take off. And obviously, as you know, that test result was positive. We didn't get that test result till Tuesday night, but that was no mystery. So obviously the kids didn't go back to school at all last week. I went and scooped them as soon as I got home, midday Monday. And it's been quarantine town over here, and that's when I started posting excessive amounts on Instagram. Like today, I feel like I've made more slides than I did in the whole of last year, just in the last 5 days. Now, the reason I'm sharing this timeline is I'm getting people saying that I dumped my kids with their dad when I knew they were sick, and I went defiantly to go play at Disney World. I'm like, that's not what happened. Anybody who knows me at all knows I would never, ever, A, leave my children when I know that they are possibly ill with COVID, B, get on a plane when I know I've been exposed to COVID, and C, I'm not. The kids were with their dad on their regularly scheduled time with him, and they came back to me on their regularly scheduled time with me, and that's just how our co-parenting works, regardless of and we stick to the schedule unless we make come to agreement about changes. But I wouldn't have traveled had I known we were dealing with COVID in that moment. When I left Wednesday morning, everybody was healthy, and of course I knew it was a risk, especially given Omicron. And I understand that not everybody's going to agree with my decision to still go, but I did, and I don't regret going at all. Like I said, I knew I was going to be outside in any group setting, and also I don't see any people. I didn't congregate. And not that there's anything wrong with that if you do that. I've been on a plane well over a dozen times in the last couple of years. I haven't counted, but it's got to be well over that. I wear my mask. I test after I fly. I choose to, even though it's not required. Usually 5 days after I fly, which is exactly what I did when I got home, especially knowing I had sick kids too. I was going to test anyway, regardless. And I just kind of lay low after I fly for a few days to make sure I don't have any symptoms, or that I test negative. That's just what I do. And I'll obviously you have to wear a mask on a plane. And I wore a mask even outside when I was, not running, not actively running during the race. I can talk more about, I did film it. I don't know. I ran the Wine and Dine 2-course challenge in November too. I've been sitting on that video for a month, just not sure whether I should post it or not. So yeah, I have lots of content. I'm finally eating my breakfast. I was too nervous to eat. So yeah. Anyway, I think why I'm explaining all this to you is not to rationalize these things, because I am at peace with my decisions, and I understand that there are things that are out of my control and things that maybe could be avoided but probably can't at some points, especially when you have small school-aged or any school-aged children, or leave your house, or want to I don't know, anything right now, right? But the thing is, I wasn't with my kids when they came down with it, and when they were at the most contagious with it. And I think that's probably why I didn't get it, even though Cece was very much still under the weather when she came to me on Monday. The steroid worked immediately, cleared up her croup, but she still had a fever. I think her last fever was Tuesday evening, and then she's been fever-free since then, so for a whole week since then. And they're back in school, and they're doing fine, and they're doing great. They had a great day back. They were a little hesitant to go back. I think they barely had been at school after a long winter break, and then they were back home and got comfortable with being home. And but then once they were back at school, they were happy to be back at school, and so that's all good. But yeah, that's the timeline. I know I don't have to explain all this to you. I felt like I wanted to be open about it. Trust me, I'm at a point where I don't feel the need to explain myself if I don't genuinely want to. And while I was a little nervous to share about the races and stuff, ultimately that was for different reasons. I understand if you don't agree with my choices, or it angers you or upsets you in any way. I don't obviously want to anger anybody, but I'm going to live my life the way I see fit, and do so as responsibly as I can. And I'm going to continue to travel as long as I feel safe to do so. And I did feel safe to travel. I traveled in December, I traveled in November, I traveled in October, I traveled in September. I traveled every month almost, really, of the last year. And I will continue to travel. And I will continue to share about my travels. And yeah, like I said, we can talk more about the races at some point. The reason I haven't shared is for other reasons, like I said. And I don't know. This is so long, you guys. Maybe I should just hop on a should we just hop on a live? I feel like yeah. I feel like I'm just taking up all the story time. So maybe I'll come on live.